Okay, so we are going to do more practice for absolute value equations and inequalities. So in this video, I'm going to do all of these and also all of these. So this is an extra practice video, so it accompanies a review video that explained how to do all of this in detail. So if you want to check that video out, I'll drop a link in the description. And you can get a free PDF version of these problems with an answer key at divideandconquermath.com. Just go to the review section. Okay, so I think that if you are trying to master this, so hopefully you are familiar with the topic, and I would strongly recommend that you try these on your own first. So feel free to pause the video for either one of these pages, but otherwise I am just going to start going through these. Okay, so starting with A here. So I've got 2x minus 4 equals 12. So this is an equation, and so for an equation, there's really two situations. Either you have an absolute value equal to a number, or an absolute value equal to an absolute value. So we talked about all of this in the video. So since this is equal to a number, I am going to separate it into two cases. So one where it equals the number, and then one where it equals the negative of the number. So let's go ahead and do that then. So this is going to be 2x minus 4 equals 12. And 2x minus 4 equals negative 12. And so from here, you just solve like usual. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add 4 to each side. And then I will have 2x equals 16 or 2x equals negative 8. So I can divide everything now by 2, and I'll write the answers up here. So let's see. So this is going to be x equals 8. Or x equals negative 4. And then you can pretty easily check that. So you can plug in 8 and you'll get 12, or you can plug in negative 4, and at negative 4 you'll get negative 12, and the absolute value of negative 12 will be 12. Okay, I think I don't like the setup of this, so I'll give myself a little more space. Okay, this is much better. Okay, so now I've got an inequality. So the absolute value of 4x minus 3 is greater than 9. And again, we talked about this in the video. So for inequalities, you need to make sure that the absolute value is on the left, and then after that, it's all about what inequality do you have. And when you have that, you either have the less than or equal to case, or the greater than or equal to case. So those are really the two cases that this breaks into. So obviously we've got a greater than, and so we're going to break it into this format here. So we talked about this in detail in the review video, again, if you want to go back and review that. So the setup here will be 4x minus 3 is greater than 9, or 4x minus 3 is less than 9. Oh, less than negative 9, sorry. Negative 9. Waiting for that coffee to kick in this morning. Okay, so now we just solve as usual, right? So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and add 3. So I get 4x is going to be greater than 12. Divide both sides by 4, and I get x is greater than 3. And then for this one, I'll add 3. I will get 4x is less than negative 6, divide both sides by 4, and get x is less than negative 3 over 2. And so this is an or, and so this is my entire solution in this case. And then depending on your situation, you may still have to graph it or make it in interval notation. I'm skipping that in this video, but there could be more things that you have to do. Okay, so onwards. So now I have this absolute value equation again. I've got equality. But I have this absolute value, 5x plus 10, and then this plus 6. So we talked about in the review video the importance of math is very literal. And so this is saying exactly what the format needs to be in that the absolute value needs to be isolated on one side. And so when we go back to our equation, we do not have the absolute value isolated, because we have this plus 6. So before we can do anything, the first thing that we must do is we must subtract the 6. So I get 5x plus 10 now equals 10. And so now we can go ahead and do our setup. So this is going to be 5x plus 10 equals 10. And 5x plus 10 equals negative 10. And so now from here, so I can go ahead and subtract the 10 in all cases. So in this case, I get 5x equals 0, and in this case, I get 5x equals negative 20. And then divide everything by 5, And I get x equals 0, and I get x equals -4. So those are the two answers. So both of these answers work. Okay, cool. So now I have the absolute value of 5x plus 2 is less than or equal to 8. So we have the absolute value on the left side. And so then I know that this is a less than situation. So for the less than situation, I use this setup here. And so let's see. So this is going to be set up as -8 is less than or equal to 5x plus 2 is less than or equal to 8. And so now I can go ahead and solve. So I can subtract 2 from all sides. So this is going to be -10 is less than or equal to 5x, which is less than or equal to 6. And then I can divide all sides by 5. So I have -2 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 6 over 5. Okay, E. So now I have the absolute value of 7x plus 3 plus 6 is less than 2. So this is still the same idea. You need to have the absolute value isolated. So the first thing that I have to do is I have to also get rid of the 6, because all of our rules always assume that the absolute value is isolated. And so now when I subtract the 6, so now I have something else interesting that happens. So now I have a negative number here. And this is something I talked about at length in the review video, but this is a special case. And now we have to think about, what do we know about absolute value? Absolute value is always 0 or greater. So the question is, when will absolute value be less than -4? This never happens, right? So since this never happens, what does that mean? What is our solution? Our solution is the empty set. There is no solution here. Okay, so now we have some fun with fractions here. So I have this absolute value of 2/3 x minus 1/2 equals 5/6. So this is in the right format. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and set up the two problems. And then I'm going to get rid of the fractions because nobody wants to deal with those. So with these two, so this is, I'm assuming that you know how to clear fractions. If you don't know how to clear fractions, I do have videos where I talk about that. You can look for my linear equations video, and I talk all about how to clear fractions. So we're going to get rid of these because we just don't want to deal with them. So the LCD of all the fractions here is 6. And so let's go ahead and just clear these out. So I'm going to take 6 times 2/3 x minus 6 times 1/2, and then I'll have the 5/6 times 6. So I really only need to do this for one of these equations, because then I just need to flip the sign for the other one. So let's just do this for this one, and then we can rewrite the equations. So in multiplying these, so 6 times 2/3, so 6 times 2/3, this equals 12 over 3, so that's going to equal 4. So this first one's going to be 4x. Half of 6 is 3, and then for this last one, the 6's cancel out, so this is going to equal 5. So my two equations now are 4x minus 3 equals 5, and 4x minus 3 equals -5. So let's clear out all this space so that we don't have to look at all these fractions. Okay, so now I've got everything set up, and I can go ahead and just solve for my x's. So I can go ahead and add the 3 to all sides, plus 3. So I have 4x equals 8, and 4x equals -2. And then I can divide by 4, so this is going to be x equals 2. And divide by 4, and this will be x equals -1/2. Okay, so now I have my absolute value on the left side, and I have a greater than. So hopefully you're starting to kind of see these cases. So for the greater than case, I'm going to have the or set up. So let's go ahead and do that. So this is going to be 3x minus 2 is greater than or equal to 7, or 3x minus 2 is less than or equal to -7. So now I can go ahead and solve. So I can go ahead and add 2. So this becomes 3x is greater than 9. Divide both sides by 3, and I get x is greater than or equal to 3. And then for this one, add 2. I get 3x is less than or equal to negative 5. Divide both sides by 3, and x is going to be less than or equal to negative 5 over 3. And so there are my 2 solutions, my OR solutions. Okay, so for this next one, so now this one is the absolute value of 4x minus 6 is greater than negative 6. So again, you have to think about this. I talked about all of this in the review video. So the one thing I know about absolute value is that it has to be 0 or greater. So this is now saying that absolute value is greater than a negative number. So when is this true? So this is the opposite case now, right? This is always true, right? Absolute value is always 0 or more, so it will always, of course, be greater than any negative number. So this is always true. So this is infinite solutions, or we can write negative infinity to infinity. Okay, so now I've got 3x minus 9 is greater than or equal to 12. So this is, again, just my classic greater than case. So I'm going to use this setup here. So this is going to be 3x minus 9 is greater than or equal to 12, or 3x minus 9 is less than or equal to negative 12. And then we can just solve. So let's see, I'll add 9. So this becomes 3x is greater than or equal to 21. And then divide by 3, so I have x is greater than or equal to 7. And then for this one, I'll add 9. So I get 3x is less than or equal to negative 3. Divide both sides by negative 3 to get x is less than or equal to negative 1. And this is an OR. Okay, and so we have one more here. So this is absolute value of 5x plus 4 plus 3 is less than or equal to 22. So the first thing that I want to do here is I need to isolate the absolute value. So I need to subtract the 3. And so this will be 19 now. And then this is the less than case. So since it's the less than case, I'm going to break it into the 3-part inequality. So I'll break this up into negative 19 is less than 5x plus 4 and less than 19. And now I can just keep going with this. So I'll subtract the 4 from all sides. So this will be negative 23 is less than 5x, which is less than 15. And then I can divide all sides by 5. So this is going to be negative 23 over 5 is less than x, which is less than 3. Okay, so if you found this content helpful, consider hitting that like button, leaving me a comment to let me know how things are going, or subscribe to the channel. And by the way, my review series has many other topics in it. So each topic has a review video, and then it comes with the practice problems. So you're watching the practice problems video, and these of course had the PDF with the answer key. So if you want to check more of these out, go to divideandconquermath.com, go to the review section, and you can find everything there for free. Otherwise, I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.